Hello.
Hello, and welcome. This is the Book Troop live show for the month of April. It's April. and this month I'm joined by my lovely friends Katie and Jordaline. I will have both of their channels linked in the description if for some reason you're unfamiliar with their channels for whatever reason. This month we read What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall. It was actually a Book Troop pick from January this year, earlier this year. But yeah, this is a newly published thriller. Thank you so much to everybody who's already been joining us in the chat. I see there's already so many friends here. Really appreciate you all for being here. And yeah, so while we're getting started, maybe if you would be so kind to let me know in the chat if you're here because you've read the book. Maybe you can put a pink heart in the chat if you have read the book, just so I can get a visual on who's here because they've read it. And then maybe you can put a black heart in the chat if you have not yet read the book, just so I can get a visual. We will be doing spoiler free at the beginning of this. So you can hang out if you haven't read it yet. And then while everyone's doing that, Katie, would you want to start? Maybe just like introduce your channel, introduce yourself, maybe for anyone who doesn't know.
Yes, I do want to say that the book cover comes across so stunning on your webcam. Like,
does it?
So good.
Oh, cool.
It looks so good. Also, I love that this one, like your book trip picks always have like the covers always lend so well to the hearts in the chat. Like it's so
oh, thank you.
Okay, my channel is Katie Colson, just as it is. And I feel like I read pretty broadly. Like every year I kind of have a different thing that I'm going for, but I always love psychological thrillers. I love horror. I used to love fantasy. I'm trying to get myself back into it. But that's pretty much the gist of it. I just chaotically post. I don't plan anything. It's kind of a problem, but we love the ride. Was I supposed to say anything else?
Oh, I mean, no, just okay. Introduction's fine, yeah. And Jordaline.
Bonjour. Comment ça va? Je m'appelle.
God, the dark academia is thriving with Jordaline.
Literally, that's all the French I know. My name is Jordaline. I'm just a spooky smart bitch, you know. I just like horror. I like thrillers. I love fantasy. I'm getting into fantasy. I feel like Katie and I are kind of opposite in that way. And yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Sorry.
No, you're good. Oh, so kind.
By the way, Gabby, your hair right now.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
The length.
I'm still shy about it a little bit. That's so sweet. Thank you. So wow, thank you so much to everybody in the chat. Oh my gosh, like that was a lot of pink hearts. So that is so cool that you guys, so many of you were able to read along this month. I really, really do appreciate you all. And then so would either of you want to give like a very like non-spoilery kind of like premise of the book just for anybody that hasn't read it yet?
Can I do it?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So in this, we're following this girl named
Naomi.
But basically, she's like a kid, right? And then her and her friends are out in the woods, and then somebody like attacks them, and the one friend, our main character, gets stabbed like 86 times or something like that. And so then her friends fucking book it. They're like, no. So they leave, and she's still in the woods, like bleeding out. And then they're like, oh, there were 3 of us, and now there are 2. And then, but then the friend survives. And so then, like 26 years later or something, she's like, you know, grown up, but she's broken because she has a scar. And so she goes back to her hometown, and you know, people are being murdered. No, that's not it. No, the person who was convicted of stabbing her was apparently supposed to be like a serial killer, but she's always doubted herself as to whether it was actually him because she can't remember what happened. she's just relying on what her friend said. So then when she goes back to her hometown, she's like uncovering mysteries and like, you know, deep secrets and stuff like that. And yeah.
That was perfect. This is the best description of a book I've heard. Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so sweet.
Oh, I love you too, Tam.
Amazing. Okay, sweet. So I guess now that we all know what we're getting ourselves into with this one, I would love to know in the chat how you felt about this book. I would love to know your star ratings out of 5, how you felt about it. I did see this one was pretty all over the board as far as like ratings go. It usually is, but like I feel like especially with this one, I noticed people are either seeming to like love this one or hate this one. So I think we might have an idea of how we feel about it, at least with each other. So I'm curious to see. I don't know your actual ratings though. So maybe Katie, do you want to give your rating first?
Yeah, I think that'll probably have solidified it by the end of the live, but I feel like I want to give it like I want to give it 2 stars, but I want to give it 1 star.
Okay.
But I really enjoy the first 40% of the book was 4 stars. I was like, I don't get why people don't like this book.
Mhm.
But then the ending, in my opinion, was horrifyingly bad. But so when we discuss it, I'll figure out better. But right now, I would probably say 2.
Okay. Cool.
I think I have to agree. I think I'd give it 2 stars. Like I honestly hadn't really thought about it until now. Yeah, somewhere like 2 seems appropriate. I'm surprised though that so many people are like 5 stars, 3 stars. Like that's wild.
No, that's what I mean. This one's really across the board. It's like either 1 stars, 3 stars, 5 stars, all over the place.
Yeah.
Was your rating for like the similar reasons as for Katie's reasons?
Kind of like, I mean, okay. Mine is a bit convoluted because I started reading it in like March, and then I stopped reading it like when I was like probably 30% of the way through, and then I picked it up like a month later, and then I was bored because I was rereading the first 30%, and at that point I was also just like, fuck this book, like. So yeah, that's mostly why. I think the fact that I reread it so quickly, it didn't help.
Yeah. I've been like going back and forth with my rating, but it's kind of like a running joke at this point that with my book club, I've never had like a 5-star read before. And this was my first 5-star read for my book club. And now I'm like, oh god, because I know I have the unpopular opinion here.
No, I'm happy. I'm so happy that you loved it because so many people loved it. I'm like, now we have somebody in the live that can give that perspective.
I mean, I'm happy because I do love when in my live shows when I have people that like love it and hate it, because I like the discussion of like hearing both sides, and I like people to be like represented in the chat and everything. But like, I'm just so happy that I finally had a 5-star read for my own book club, because like I've had this book club for 2 years now and it hasn't happened. So like, I'm just kind of stoked. It's kind of like a
chances it would be this book.
Like, I know. Well, that's why I'm like, oh great, now I'm gonna be fighting for my life in this live show to defend myself. But like, honestly, it's fine. I'm not the kind of person that gets like weird or salty about people not liking books that I like. Like, I'm totally, it's fine. No big deal. I didn't write it, you know?
I also want to know like what you loved about it.
Yeah, well, basically for me, I thought this book was so gripping. Like, I was from that first chapter when it's like kind of like a flashback of like them in the woods and like seeing kind of what happened. I was immediately gripped. And like from that first sentence, it says, "There is a wilderness in little girls." And I was like, oh my God, that is beautiful. Like, I loved that opening part of it. And then, I don't know, I just thought it was immediately engaging. I thought the pacing was like really like, I don't know, it kept me gripped the entire way through the story. And then even the end, like, yeah, if I really want to nitpick the ending apart, I do think there are some things about the end that were a little bit too like messy, or like some things that with the plot got a little intense. But I still think there was at least 4 plot twists. I wrote down 4 plot twists that happened at the end of this book that I was like, holy shit, like there was at least 3 of them that I didn't really see coming. And then I don't know, I just thought, like, I was surprised. And it's like, when I have this much fun reading a thriller, I just feel like I've got to, give it the 5 stars, because I was just so entertained by it. So even though it's probably like not the perfect book, but I just had so much fun with it.
I have a question for both of you, but then also the chat is, I feel like this might alter people's reaction to the book. Did you, while you were reading it or after, did you recognize the case that it was based on?
I don't know. I didn't even know it was based on a real life case until this morning.
Oh, because that altered my view. So I didn't know if anybody else recognized.
Did it Did it say that it was based on a case anywhere, or like the author didn't address it?
I think people are speculating.
No, it's not speculation. It's a direct rip off of a case. I mean,
it is, but it's not like she's like in the acknowledgments, like, thank you to the victims. like,
well, yeah, but like, there's no way that it. But see, that kind of colored my view because she. Well, I didn't Google it. Maybe in an interview she mentions it. Well, I don't want to say it until we go to spoilers, because if you know the case, then you're not going to like reading the book, because you're going to know what's going to happen. But if she in interviews has mentioned the case, then okay. But based on what I read of the book, she didn't mention it, and I kind of didn't like that, because it's very obviously about this case.
So yeah. I'm confused. Was it just like inspired by the case, or was it like word for word, like this is what happened to these people kind of thing?
It's exactly what happened.
I wonder if like the stab wounds are like the same.
Yep.
Did you look it up?
No, I know the case. Like, it's very popular.
Oh.
No, I can see people saying in the chat what it is, and I'm kind of familiar with that case, but I didn't realize, I didn't put it together, I guess. I don't know.
Honestly, when it when it was like revealed or whatever, I was like, oh my god, okay, it's kind of like that work. But then when you brought it up, I was like, wait a minute. Because I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, oh, there's similarities, whatever. But then you brought it up, Katie, like a few days ago, and I was like,
yeah, there was like differences. Like there was added things. Like when I say it's direct case, is that it is directly this case. I'm not going to say it until we get into it, but it is that. But then there was like added stuff to like make it like more kind of plot twisty. But I don't know. It just made me like a little uncomfortable on their behalf, I guess.
Yeah. No, I definitely think that's weird when stuff gets I mean, I guess I don't think there's anything wrong with being inspired by real life cases, because I mean, I feel like people take inspiration from all kinds of things, but yeah, I guess if it's like so on the nose that it's like, almost like a direct thing, then that's kind of odd. Also, but I guess, I don't know, I'll have to do more research into that. I didn't realize that when I was reading it.
I mean, as long as you're upfront about it, like Jack Ketchum wrote an entire book about the Sylvia, I forget her name, I'm so sorry. But he wrote an entire book about it, but he was upfront about it. He was like, this is what it is. Yeah. But the fact that she hasn't said anything, seemingly, we don't know. It's a bit suspicious.
I haven't done a deep dive on like her as a human being, so
yeah, I
can't speak on that.
It is her first adult book, though, right?
Yeah, I know. I was gonna ask, have you guys read any other books from this author? And if you have, how did you feel about them? I don't think that I have.
I think I own a few of her books.
Yeah, well, because she's only, as far as I know, I think she's only written young adult before this, but she has some really popular, like, well-known ones. Like, I think The Rules of Vanishing is the one that she wrote, which I've heard really good things about that one. I haven't personally read it.
She has The 13s, and then there was that other one that released in 2022, These Fleeting Shadows.
Yeah, These Fleeting Shadows. That one looks interesting as well, but I haven't read that one either. So I was just wondering if anybody in the chat, if you have read her other books and this one as well, like how did this one compare for you? And do you prefer her adult writing or her young adult writing? I already see I read and hated Rules of Vanishing. I mostly hear good things about Rules for Vanishing. At least I hear that it's like one of the better young adult kind of like weird horror, I don't know, stuff. So, okay, there is an article that says it was inspired by the events.
Oh,
It's odd. It's just odd not to mention it, I guess, in the
is she not
acknowledgement.
included in
Not
that?
that, not like, oh, Kate Alice Marshall, like you did this, like how dare you? But I'm like, it's just like a little uncomfortable. Like I feel like she could have said it, like in the acknowledgments, especially like people. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of strange.
Yeah.
But again, like I really like the first. I wrote in my notes the first 45% because there's something that happens at 45% that I was like, absolutely not. But the first 45%, I had all these notes like being like, I don't understand why everybody in my live stream is like, this is so terrible. Like, and I'm just like, what? Like, there's plenty of things I did really enjoy about the first half of the book.
Yeah. I know. I guess that was going to be one of my questions was maybe still without getting into spoilers, what was something that you enjoyed about the book? And then what was something that you really didn't like about the book for both things? I mean, can we talk about that without spoilers or should we jump into spoilers?
I think there's things that you can say.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
just like general things that you liked about it and then general things that you didn't like about it.
If we can't do it, I think we're in the wrong business.
Yes. Yeah, because I think, I mean, for me, I think the general things that I liked about it was that I liked the pacing of the book. I know some people were saying it's kind of boring or whatever, but I personally, like, pacing really worked well for me. I thought it was engaging, like, the whole way through. And then I was really invested in, like, the characters and, like, the situation throughout the whole book. But one of the only things that I didn't care for so much was there was something at the end that I just thought was a little bit, like, I just needed a little bit more from certain situations. But... yeah, that's why it's hard to talk about without getting into it.
Okay. So for things that I did like that are non-spoilery, I liked the lore, like the mythology thing, which I don't think is spoiling it. You know, there's the whole like that they. But the reason I liked it, one, it was interesting, and two, because it was three friends, and the two like protector friends created this lore to help nullify the fear of the seemingly like smaller or like more fragile friend. So I thought that was cool. And I also really liked that there was like three very distinctly different point of views of like PTSD and grief and depression that we got to have. And I enjoyed Naomi's point of view because in my opinion, the other two characters were not even nearly as interesting as her. Mm-hmm. And the stuff I didn't like that's non-spoilery is I really did not like the depiction of Liv, especially in the audiobook, because she was so meek and fragile that whenever the other characters would be like, there's no way that she would have done so-and-so and so-and-so, I'm like, I mean, you didn't depict her very well because I totally believe that she would have done all of those things. And then I also didn't like the way that Naomi characterized herself as being broken. That was like a Tumblr post, like in my opinion. But that's all the stuff that I can say without spoiling anything.
It's hard to find things I like about the book. I liked a few of the twists at the end had me gooped, gagged, my face cracked. I was like, a few twists, I was literally sitting like, what? Like, so I'll give her that. I was kind of shocked at some of the twists. Some of the twists were just like a little bit too much, but and then what I didn't like about the book, I have to agree with Katie. Like the whole Liv thing, everything about her character, I was not gagging. I was not living. I was not laughing. I was not loving. Yeah.
All right. I think I want to just jump into spoilers because I'm already seeing spoilers being mentioned in the chat. I don't want people to get spoiled. So I think from this point forward, we will be jumping into spoilers. I mean, we're already about 20 minutes into this live show. So I think if you have not read the book yet, thank you so much for joining this live show. I really do appreciate you. And we are going to be jumping into some spoilers because there are so many things that I would like to discuss. Into spoilers. So I guess my first question, I guess, would be like, so Katie, while you were reading it, did you pick up on the fact that it was about the case, and did that like spoil anything of the book for you then, or was it just, or did you not realize it until like after you finished it?
I didn't realize it like as quickly as I should have, because actually this is what it was, is that I realized the case that it was based on, which now there are spoilers, it's based on the Slender Man, the Slender Man case. I realized it, but as I was reading it, I didn't go and Google, because I remembered the case, but I didn't remember like everything that had happened. And while I was reading it, it was like still kind of shocking, because I was like, is this what happened? Like, I'm trying to remember. But yeah, I realized it maybe like 50% of the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I see. So did that ruin any of like the ending for you as far as like plot twists go and things like that?
I don't want to say that it ruined it because it was Slender Man. I just was like, you know, like I'm sorry, Kate Alice Marshall. I didn't. It wasn't because it was based on Slender Man that it ruined it. It was that I didn't buy it. Like, I didn't buy. Okay, I'll be brief. The character, not Liv, not Naomi, the other one. Oh my God, the other girl.
One.
Cassidy
Cass.
or Cass?
Yeah.
Okay, Cass. What do you mean? Like, out of nowhere, they've known each other since they were children, and you're telling me that Naomi never caught on that she wasn't a good person? Like, never caught on that she was a psycho? Like, I didn't buy it. I was like, that's your best friend.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'll say.
I know. I was gonna say my one like big nitpick with the ending of this book was the reason why Cass wanted to like do this in the first place. It was so weak to me. Like, that was my biggest. She was like,
I honestly don't
I'm just jealous because you guys are so close, and she could tell that there was almost like romantic feelings between Naomi and Liv, and she was like jealous of like how close they were. So like that was her whole motive and reasoning behind like wanting her to get stabbed or whatever in the first place. And it was just a little bit weak, even though now thinking about it, I do think that was like the actual reason for the Slender Man case, right? It was a girl being like jealous of the other girls. So like, I guess it's realistic, but like, I was just like, come on, like I need more motive than that. Or I thought she could have done something more interesting, like made the motive different, and I don't know. So that was like
I did enjoy the Liv, and I did enjoy that the author included the fact that Naomi was like, yeah, if I really think about it, I was in love with Liv, but I wasn't willing to ruin the friendship. And I was like, that was a cool little subtle thing.
I know. I wanted more of like Naomi and Liv and like that relationship like throughout the story, you know, because like once you found out she might have had like romantic feelings towards her, I was like, I need more of that here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as far as like the plot twists go, I'm gonna read out the 4 plot twists that happen in this book, and I want to know if any of these were like predictable to you, or if you were like, nah, I saw that coming from a mile away. Because I put the first plot twist is that Ethan is Stahl's son.
Duh.
I did not see
Oh my God. Literally the second this man came on the page, I was like,
okay, like I knew he was gonna be shady, but I did not think for like 1 second that he was actually the son of the serial killer dude.
No, me neither. I was like, he's killing bitches, he's killing everyone. And then they were like, he's his son. And I was like, fuck me.
Literally, there's a point where he asks about her dad and whatever. Mm-hmm. And then she kind of phrases the question back to him, and he says like, oh, his mom, it's like, oh, she, like, he says something like, oh, she's dead. And then she asks about the dad, and he's like, oh, like, he's not around or something like that. And I was like,
yeah. Listen, I should have known.
I mean, yeah, I should have seen it coming too, but I didn't for some reason.
Because also there were like all those like letters about like him writing to her. It's like so obvious.
The letters also were, and the fact that he kept being like, the person with the letters is never actually threatening you. I was like, why are you sticking up for this person that's like stalking her? Like, I don't understand. And then also the podcast thing, I really hated that element, because I get that it's realistic. these journalists or whatever, like shoving themselves down victims' throats, but it's so gross to read about. And like he was literally shoving himself down her throat, and he changed his motive so many times because he'd be like, I'm here to do like a piece for my podcast. But then after knowing her for like 10 minutes, he's like, actually, I don't care about the podcast. I just want to know the truth. And then after knowing her for 24 hours, he was like, I don't care about the truth. I care about you. I was like,
yeah, the romance was very like fast. It was like,
Oh,
it was
I hated it.
I don't know. It's so weird though, because for some reason I didn't mind the romance in this book as much, even though I was definitely questioning her and like judging her choices with this man, but I wasn't like bothered by it the way that I usually am with like romance and thrillers.
I was bothered by it. I hated it.
Like,
I hated
no,
it.
I was bothered though by the end after she knows that who he is, then she sleeps with him again. I was like, wait, because I was like, okay, before I could let it slide because I'm like, you don't know who this man is, and like he's just a podcaster or whatever. But after knowing his identity and then she still sleeps with him again, I was like, okay.
Abby, you don't understand. She's just broken.
I know. I know. I was
the
like,
amount of times that she was like, I don't understand how he could like someone as broken as me. But she never talked like that before 45%. And that's when she sleeps with this guy. And I was like, you're okay, Riley Sager. Like,
I know. It was a little Riley Sager. It was.
I love that that's an insult.
well, because that's his formulaic thing. In men that write mystery thrillers with female main characters always have a highly suspicious dude character, and the girl will sleep with them, and then they end up not being involved, like the dude.
No. It's not. That's I think my main issue with the book is that it was so familiar. I have read this book multiple times. I know this story. It's been done, and I was just bored. Thank you, Melissa. These are your precious.
So cute. Okay, so the second plot twist was that Liv was actually the one that like stabbed Naomi, and that her parents were like trying to blame the serial killer because they thought she was having like a mental episode of some kind, which ends up later not even being true. But that was like the second kind of like twist thrown out, which like, were you guys at any point like suspicious that Liv might have been the one to actually do it? Or were you like surprised by that?
I was surprised by it, but I'm now annoyed by it. It's just so tropey. Like, sad girl is sad and crazy. Mm-hmm. Sad and crazy girl stab friend. Like, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it coming until I realized that it was a while before I realized like what was going on. So I didn't really see the Liv thing coming because I thought that she was going to change it up, and like, because again, like the motives were kind of, and she was so like fragile that I was like, how has she never broken down and said something? Like, not one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the third twist that I wrote down is that Cody is responsible for what happened with Jesse and also possibly with killing Liv, which that was the one that I definitely saw coming personally, because as soon as Cody was introduced and she was like, I used to have a crush on him and now he's a politician, I was like, no, I don't trust this man.
Oh, and then it was like they were flirting with each other, but he's like, oh, I have kids and a wife in another state.
Yeah, that was weird a little bit. I was like, what?
But then he was so, that was one of the questions that I was telling you, Gabby, that I wrote down while I was reading, and then was like, dang, I kind of wish I'd gone back and answered my own question, is that I asked myself, I was like, why is like Cody so suspicious? And I was like, why is Cody so overly protective of her, comes back to the state, literally comes back from a different state to like protect her, and then also protect her from the guy, Ethan. But then also, why was he in the woods to find her in the first place?
Exactly. Like, when he just popped up, I was like, huh? Yeah, he was a little bit suspicious right away. So I just kind of had a feeling that something was going on with him. So I wasn't super surprised by like that aspect of the storyline. And then the fourth and final twist that I wrote was that Cass is the one who actually stabbed Naomi and tries to like set up the whole thing, which again, I didn't see it coming, but I also don't know how I feel about that twist, just because I feel like her motive was a little weak there. Like, I just wanted more than just like, oh, I'm jealous of my friends, like, you know.
Also, it felt like at the end she's like, and now I'll go into my villain monologue, and it was like,
yeah.
Cool.
Well, okay, I okay, you can't see that twist coming because there's no foundation for it.
Yeah.
Like
Other
you
than
think
they fight sometimes. That's it.
but even them fighting, like, and the fact that she's like, that Cass is like, I'm running this lodge like I'm like a Gilmore girl and in this town, and I'm like, you're running this lodge and you're like not checking in on this friend, like this friend that you stabbed like 27 times or whatever in the face, stabbed in the face, and you're not going to keep an eye on this girl, like a text chain, like something.
Yeah.
You know, something I was still confused about at the end, and I don't know if they did clarify this or not, was the guy that got accused, like Alan Stahl, he was actually still a serial killer though, right? Like he was, right?
The son says, like, the son has looked into all the evidence and like literally tells her multiple times, like, he definitely did it.
Yeah, but it was actually that guy, right, that went to prison, because I was confused if they were just like trying to blame it on someone, but they didn't know who the serial killer actually was, or if it was like that guy was actually a serial killer, but they just blamed this one case on him to like put him away, kind of thing. I don't know. It was just kind of unclear to me if that.
Why did she feel bad?
I know.
Well, the guy, the cop, like, and like she figures out later when she's on the phone with him that he basically is like forged all this stuff because he knew that the guy was a serial killer and wanted to put him away, and just said his name to them and said the descriptor so that the girls like took that on and was like, oh yeah, it's got to be him. But he basically reveals to her later on that like there was no evidence that it was this guy. He just knew that he was a serial killer and couldn't convict him on anything else.
See, that's what I mean.
Why does she feel bad? Like,
I know. Why would she feel so much guilt over like sending this man to prison that had nothing to do with it if he was actually still innocent?
Because she's broken.
I know it's probably because then she thinks like whoever did it is still out there. Then maybe that's what scares her about it. But like, I don't know. Like, I just think that's, I don't know.
I think it's interesting. I get like the brain with trauma and stuff, like the way that it reacts. But I did find it very interesting that not that she didn't remember that her friend stabbed her, but that she didn't have any sort of like gut fear or anything when she was around them. Like you would kind of think that she would be like, I don't know, like kind of have like a vibe or something, like to distance herself from them.
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting. I know, and the fact that she would have no memories at all about like what actually happened. I mean, I know she got stabbed like 17 times or whatever, but like still, like, yeah, you would think that she'd like have some kind of trauma associated with those girls after that would happen, so it would like affect their relationship. I don't know.
Well, okay, something I'm forgetting is but one, them finding a decomposing corpse in the woods and being like, this is our friend and we're gonna worship it. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna lie, that was sick. I was like, okay, like I'm down. But I'm forgetting how the aunt of this girl that played into it, that it was like Persephone was not the girl who went missing. It was her aunt, who was the waitress, who was wearing her niece's name on her bracelet. That was all very like, and then that brought Cody in because he was in love with her, or like somebody was in love with her. I was like, what?
It was a little confusing, right? It was like that. It was, the girl's name was actually Jessie, but she was wearing a bracelet that said Persephone, right? So
yeah,
I thought that was a little confusing. What?
Whose aunt was she?
She was Persephone's aunt.
Who's Persephone?
Persephone. Okay, the girl in the woods that they called Persephone, the decomposing body.
Yeah.
There was a bracelet that said Persephone. So they were like, oh my God, this fits the lore. This is Persephone. And they were like giving her things as like sacrifices and stuff to this god. But her name wasn't Persephone. She was actually a waitress in town that everybody said had left town and whatever. Yeah. But it was actually her, and her niece's name was Persephone that she loved. And she was wearing a bracelet with her niece's name on it.
Yeah.
I was confused about this girl's age because I was like, you have a niece named Persephone, but you're a waitress in school that Cody was like obsessed with. And I'm like, but wasn't Cody like also a child?
I know. I thought Cody, and he would have been a child. And like for that incident to have happened like 20 years ago when all the girls were like 11. I mean, I know they said he was a little bit older, right? Because he was friends with Cass's older brother. So he might have been like a few years older than them. But yeah, like wouldn't he have only been like a teenager? I guess when that happened. I don't know.
Well, because the guy, the serial killer, he killed like younger girls.
Oh, okay.
Wait, Cody did? Yeah.
Oh, he was 10 years older than them? Oh, I missed that.
Okay, that was extra creepy that he was so obsessed with
the
girl.
weird.
Obviously.
Yeah,
nobody knows it. Everybody's like, Cody's 19 and Cody's 20.
You know, Jordaline, I can't believe that you haven't brought it up until this point, but I need you to talk about your big gripe with this book.
Mine?
No, Jordaline. How have you not brought this up yet? Literally, we were on a live and she talked about it for like half an hour.
Oh gosh, I need to know.
Wait. Remind me what it was.
Oh my god. Okay. Whenever they sleep together and
oh my god. Okay. Like 3/4 of the way through, they fuck or whatever, and then she wakes up in the morning and she's like, oh, he's gone. Oh, and then he comes back and he's got like little fucking Sephora bag with him. Girl, what's that, bestie? And then he like pulls out makeup. He pulls out like concealer and foundation, and he's like, I got your shade. And she's like, the fuck? And he's like, yeah, my mom taught me how to do makeup because she made me do her makeup because I was abused. I don't know why. That was so weird.
Like that was another thing where I was like, obviously his dad's a serial killer, because I think that he was implying that he did his mom's makeup because she was abused by the dad.
Oh.
But again, like also I was like, is this written by a woman? Because when he's doing her makeup with a beauty blender, I was like, okay, like with a beauty blender over her like beaten up face, and at no point does she say that it hurts. Like she says it doesn't ever. I'm like
he gently blended my concealer, and then contoured and fucking I'm snatched now. Like what? Listen, I love that men are getting into makeup. I love that. This man, this specific cis straight man, no, I refuse. I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. How dare you? It was so triggering. I was like, are you joking? This man would never know how to put on concealer and foundation. There's no way. And then she was like, oh, don't cover up my scar. Do you know how scars work, bitch? What are you talking about? It's gonna be there whether you have foundation on or not. Like,
I actually, I don't know if y'all have the answer to this, but I was confused why he was so adamant that she cover up the bruises on her face. Like, I didn't get that. And I thought that was suspicious, and it never came to anything, but I didn't understand.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just made no sense. It made no sense. It was at that point where I was like, oh, fuck this book. This book took my ass. I'm done with it.
I did really like, one thing that I put on spoilers that I did like, I mean, that's so, I didn't like it. God, that sounds horrible. Okay. Liv's death was so fucking sad. That was so sad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Her finding her, I was like, oh!
I know. Well, and like initially with thinking it was a suicide too, I was like, oh my God, like this is awful. But I also had a gut feeling that it like wasn't a suicide. But like, yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that all the people being like, oh, it was a suicide. And I was like, yeah, obviously. But then her being like, there's no way that she would have committed suicide because she wouldn't have broken this promise to me. And I was like, I don't think you understand how depression works. Like,
yeah,
I don't think she was thinking about your promise. But like, I just thought it was so weird that it was like we were supposed to believe as the reader, there's no way that she would have committed suicide. And I was like, based on the way you've written the character,
yeah,
I completely believe that she would have done that. Like, she was really fucked up from all this stuff.
No, for sure. But she was murdered, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Cody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because wasn't it that Cass was covering up that her brother, like, what?
She was
oh
like,
my God.
She was like blackmailing him. It was like it was because it was revealed that what was it? Oh my god, it was that Cass was because she found out the truth about how Cody was involved with the killing of that girl Jessie or whatever, right? Or with whatever happened with her. And then she was blackmailing him to like invest money in her business or something to like but then he was gonna blackmail her because he was involved with like killing Liv or something. So then he was like, I'm gonna blackmail you to like not say anything or something because Liv was about to like spill the beans and like ruin both of their lives or something.
That's funny. I didn't realize that they were blackmailing each other. I thought that it was like a family business, like where he was involved with the Jesse thing and then she was covering up, and that they had found the body, and that like maybe Naomi was going to say something. So Liv was like, this is perfect. I'm already a psycho. Like, let's kill her because she knows something, or because Cody was close to her. And then later on, when Liv was going to say something, Cody was like, okay, well, I'm going to cover up for my family, so I'm going to kill Liv. Yeah. I thought that it was like a whole family like fuckery. Oh yes, Cass's dad. Yes.
Yeah.
He was the mayor,
it's just
right?
So convoluted. There's so many plot points. How can one keep up?
I know, like we read the book, okay? We read the book. It's just very convoluted.
I read it fucking twice, for Christ's sake.
Like, there's so many things happening. I don't remember every detail. I'm sorry.
And that's funny because there's so many things happen. And I feel like I remember so much of this book. But again, the things that I've forgotten are so much too, because there's just a vast amount of things that happened.
Yeah, there's so much. But especially toward the end, it all gets jumbled. It's all so complex. Like, there's so much going on.
Exactly. Like, of course I'm going to be a little... And, like, I read it about a week ago now, so my brain's a little bit, like, over the ending, like, what?
Yeah.
I cannot get myself to believe that Cass, who convinced, Jesus Christ, how many times do I need to wake up today? Okay, so she convinced Liv, like did this whole manipulation of saying, we have to kill Naomi, we have to do this, blah, 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 which is already psychotic. Like, especially as a child, to be able to convince another child you need to kill somebody. That's already crazy. Stabs her, because Liv, like, can't do it. Stabs her, like, 17 times in the face. Okay? You're telling me that from that point, when she was 11, like, until she's 30-something, that she never killed anything or anyone else? Like, I don't think that you can just scratch that itch once. Like, I don't know.
Especially if you're as sadistic as she is. Like, she's like, I'm a psycho. Ugh. Like, are you, what? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
And also, she wrote a book about her own stabbing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fuck. Yeah, that was so fucked up.
Very interesting.
And they weren't even like that upset about it. I was like, I'd be so mad. And she's like, well, we needed the money. I'm like, your dad's the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so something I had a question about was, I didn't understand why we got the plot point of Cass's dad, and that got brought up so many times, but I didn't get why.
Yeah, they didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, I didn't see a reason for that either, and it seemed like, I don't know, for me it felt so like thrown in randomly, like towards the end, because like I don't remember it being addressed too much in the beginning.
No.
Well, when she first goes to the town, it's like a lot about the hoarder stuff, which I like. Okay, the hoarder stuff, that didn't make any sense to me. Like, I was like, we're just talking about this a lot, but I did like that the dad, like that depiction of like the grief and stuff, because I think that she did do a good job of like showing a lot of different facets, where the dad is basically like, he admits that he distanced himself from Naomi because he didn't know how to deal with her grief and viewing her as a victim. So like, he just completely isolated himself from her, which I was like, yeah, that's fucked up, but like, it does happen. And speaking of that, one of my favorite parts of the book, where I was like, oh my God, that was so beautiful, is when Naomi thinks to herself, I think she's like talking to Liv, and Liv's like really like kind of manically like having an episode, and she thinks to herself that she's glad that she's the one that got stabbed in this situation, because at least when somebody hears, or she never has to explain to anybody that she has nightmares, that she's like, that she has PTSD, that she has grief, because they can see it in her scars, where Liv and Cass, at least in Naomi's brain, don't have that. So they like almost don't have a reason when it comes to like other people to be as fucked up as she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was confused too. Yeah, so we were talking about Naomi's dad, and then Cass's dad is the one that was involved with like he was the one that was the mayor and that was involved with like killing Jesse.
Also, Cass's dad didn't really go anywhere. It was
Yeah,
just
that's what
like,
I thought. That's what I thought we were talking about when I said it. He wasn't really even involved in the beginning until the very end. I thought we were talking about Cass's dad. Sorry.
Honestly, I did too.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, we're talking about okay.
Yeah,
But, like, both of them are true. Like,
yeah.
also though, a red herring for what? What was he misdirecting us from?
I know. I think from knowing that it was Cody who was involved instead of the dad or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, so one of my like last questions that I had for you was that what like or do you have any books, movies, or TV shows that you would compare this to that like if somebody enjoyed this, you would also recommend they check out this other thing? I had on my BookTube Instagram, I always ask that question, and I had a few people say Slender Man, and I was like, okay, and like I didn't realize at the time, so I thought that was kind of funny. But was there anything else that you guys had that you could compare this to? That like, oh, if you like this, you should check this out instead, or as well.
Maybe like I don't know.
This is not a direct comparison by any means, but based on like how crazy and like all the things that happen in the end, hear me out. The Mindfuck series, I
was gonna say that.
Oh my god!
I don't know why. I don't know why. It just does.
Well, because of like, you know, in the end when it's like, which like not if you know, you know, but I'm not gonna like say what it is. But in the end with like Cass's dad and Cody and like all this stuff, like basically if like Naomi had gone like full unhinged, like in the end, that if Amy Dunn was the main character of What Lies in the Woods, it would be the Mindfuck series.
Oh God, that's so crazy you said that because I was thinking that, but then in my head I was like, but why does it remind me of this? It's so funny.
It's wild. The only book I can think of is The Crow Girl by Eric Axel Sand.
Okay.
But it's not exactly. It's not like it's about like a detective who's like solving the murders of children.
Oh.
So it's like not really similar, but it's like the only thing I can think of. That's like just like a little teeny tiny bit.
I've been hearing some people say Yellow Jackets. I haven't seen Yellow Jackets. I've heard
so
that it's got a
the first season was amazing.
I definitely agree with Local Woman Missing, but I would also say if you really enjoyed the friendship, while it be like if you enjoyed young girls being friends doing creepy shit, then I would say My Best Friend's Exorcism.
Oh yeah.
Somebody also, Stephanie said Jackal, and for sure it has Jackal vibes. That's right.
Yeah. I know. I was gonna say one of the things that reminded me of a little bit was like Final Girls by Riley Sager, because it definitely had like that like slashery Girls in the Woods kind of vibes, and then also like some of the writing just reminded me of Riley Sager with like the way that he would write, you know, like a girl falling for a red flag man, and then like just like the double plot twist thing at the end that felt very Riley Sager to me. So
that definitely fits with Final, especially they're older, thinking about something that happened when they were younger, and the main character not remembering it.
Yeah, yep.
Totally the same.
Yeah. So that was something I thought. But interesting. Well, I think that just about wraps up everything that I had for this live show. Unless you guys had anything else that was like you want to get off your chest about the book. I can't think of anything else I wanted to bring up.
I feel bad because so many people loved it, and I'm like, I want to say the truth, but I don't want people not to read it because.
No, are you kidding me? I appreciate the conversation, and I'm always here for a good roast. You know, even if it's something that I love, I don't care.
I was really excited to come on here and shit on it, to be honest.
I'm sure because after you read something that you really don't like, it's like therapeutic to like.
Yeah, I just want to yell about it. Thank you for giving me the platform to do.
Yes, well, thank you so much to everyone for joining us for this live show. I had a great time. I'm so glad that Katie and both Jordaline were able to join me. Once again, their channels will be linked down below if you want to go and check out their channels. Next month, we are going to be reading The Last Word by Taylor Adams. So, like, hopefully that'll be a good one for us. We'll have to see.
I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited to read that book because I've been hearing good things, and I'm like, please let this be another
Is it-
like 5-star.
I know, I hope. We'll see.
Wait,
I've been
who's
hearing
joining
it's
you next month?
next month. It'll be Riley from Riley Marie. She'll be joining me.
And Katie and I. Cool. Okay.
Yeah. I'll be back.
Katie and I become your co-host permanently.
You're like, I'll be back to roast the next one as well.
I don't want to roast it. I wanted to be, literally when I heard that it was your next book club pick, I was like, do I message her and say transfer me? Because I was like, but I'm like, what if I hate it? Because if I hate it, I'm gonna be so sad.
I know. Well, I've been hearing that this one's more like no exit than like his other book. So
Thank
I'm hoping
God.
that it has that same kind of like readability that no exit has. So we'll see.
I was afraid to buy it because I was like, if this is like the other one,
I
which I
know.
never read. Katie did, and
Yeah.
Katie was like, go read it. And I was like, oh, okay.
You made me read it.
I
Yeah.
I know. I don't think they've announced it yet, but it looks like it might be a book of the month pick next year because they keep saying the word is out about May books and it's like a teaser. So it's like the last word. I think it might be, I don't know.
Mm.
It hasn't been announced yet, but I think it might be a May book club pick, which would be cool. It's like, but anyways, so I think we're gonna head out. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday and weekend, and we will see